Jim Edwards here, down on the ground in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're here for UFC International Fight Week 2017 and joined here by our good friend James Lynch of Sportsnet in Canada, of course, Flow Combat. James, I want to talk to you about the upcoming TUF finale, season 25 on Friday night. I wanted to start off by talking about the UFC Fight Pass main event. We got Gray Maynard taking on Teruto Ishihara. Talk about this match a bit. What do you still see? Is there life in Gray Maynard still?
No, I think this is just a fight for Ishida, basically, to build his name off of. I mean, Maynard's been on a. We were looking at his record just before we started this.
Yeah.
He's lost, I don't know what it is, like 4 of his last 5 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, 5 in his last 6.
5 in his last 6, yeah. And he's just not been the same fighter that we saw, take on Frankie Edgar for the lightweight title. He's had a lot of miles on him. And, fighting at 45, we haven't seen too many fighters have success dropping a weight class later in their career. And that's clearly the case with Maynard. I just see this as a fight for Ishihara to sort of, like I said, make a name off himself. He's an alpha male guy. Yeah. He's a guy that, is quite entertaining as far as his mic skills and everything else. Yeah. So the UFC's trying to captivate that and give him a win here, I think. And for Maynard, I guess it's to prove he's still relevant, but I don't think it ends well for him.
I think one of the best things about Teruto is his personality, the way he connects with the media, and I think it's been really disappointing we haven't been able to talk to him this week.
Yeah.
And, obviously he's coming off the loss to Artem Lobov back in November, so if he gets back on the, Gray Maynard's still a big name. That's kind of maybe the way the matchmaking's gone here.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts. Who are you picking? I'm guessing Ishihara.
I'm going to pick Ishihara in this one. At this point, Gray Maynard is just not the same guy he used to be. He still has his wrestling, but let's be honest here. The chin isn't the same as it used to be. He's not the guy that could go out there and as he says in his nickname, bully guys. He doesn't do that anymore. And that Gray Maynard's been long gone, unfortunately. So, I think while it will be a competitive fight, I do see Ishihara having his hand raised.
Great stuff. I mean, of course, it is all about, it's supposed to all be about the Ultimate Fighter on Friday night. I've not so much been watching the series. It's quite hard to watch in the UK.
Yeah.
But give us a rundown of how you think the season's gone, and is there still a place for TUF in the UFC's kind of like armory of media, I guess?
Yeah, it's difficult. I actually did watch this season. I watched all the episodes, as many as I could, anyways, and I was captivated. I was someone who was a fan of the comeback format for a while. When they did it in season 4 and then bringing it back. It would have been nicer to see some different names on there. It seemed like they grabbed a lot of guys that were just had certain storylines, but I wanted to see more names like a Joe Stevenson or something like that. They were more notable, but nevertheless, I thought this season came across well. I know the ratings didn't say it, but I think that speaks volumes to, I think, just reality TV in general. I just think at this point, to try and sell people on that, it's a format that's been sort of overdone. And I think the original format of The Ultimate Fighter, which is to try and find prospects, is difficult now because you see LFA and you see all these other promotions that are really showcasing guys on Access TV. We have to remember when The Ultimate Fighter started, there was no LFA or RFA or anything like that to showcase these guys. Now we're seeing them on the regional scene. It's not the same as they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of the series was the Redemption series, wasn't it? It's supposed to bring back some of the old guys. Who are some of the names that have kind of stood out to you in this series? We do know, obviously, we can't say who's going to be in the finals or who's going to be featuring, but we do know that actually all 4 guys from the semi-finals are going to be fighting on the card on Friday. That'll be James Krause, Dhiego Lima, not Douglas, of course, Tom Galicchio, and Taylor. So, I mean, those are the 4 guys we know are going to be on the card, but who do you think really has stood out?
I think Jesse Taylor has. I mean, here's a guy who blew a huge opportunity when he was, on The Ultimate Fighter himself. We've seen the security footage of him acting like a gorilla, like he self-describes himself. And, he came across really well in the season, a lot more mature, and he was winning fights. They weren't pretty, but he still won fights. And I think that's sort of the main thing of the season, is seeing guys that can really make a comeback. And that's been sort of the story here, is a guy like him and a guy like Tom Galicchio, who's, quite the personality. Jim, you and I saw him do stand-up last night.
Funny guy.
He's really sort of come into his shell, and I think, for a guy that has given up so much to be in the situation, it's nice to see him come through.
Yeah, sure. I think Tom's really got the personality they can sort of push. I think there's just something special about him. He's slightly odd, but he's captivating.
Odd in a good way, though. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Super nice guy. Okay, I mean, I'm here. A lot of the reason why I'm here in Las Vegas is the co-main event. Mark Dhiego, one of the guys who's supposed to be the hottest prospects coming out of not only just the British circuit, but the European circuit. Now, he comes with a lot of hype. Everyone talks about him back home as the next guy that's really, going to create a big impact on the world stage. But I know you've talked to his opponent this weekend, Drakkar Klose. He's not, I guess, been put to the forefront, I guess, of the media here. He's a bit of an unknown quantity, especially for us guys that have been following Dhiegoz's ranks. Like, What do you know about him? Because I know you interviewed him earlier this week.
Yeah, I did. And so, you know, the thing with Drakkar Klose is that he had a pretty decorated wrestling background. And so he's been a guy that people have been keeping an eye on the regional scene, at least in North America.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a very good debut. He fought Devin Powell. It was kind of a boring fight. You know, I think this is a case where the UFC really wants to see the true Drakkar Klose. And, you know, fighting a guy in Dhiego who's already gotten under his skin, I think we are going to see a really good fight. You know, it's rare, Jim, to see two prospects go against each other this early in their UFC careers. But I think the UFC is doing sort of a sink or swim thing with both guys, where it's like, look, you know, who's the real deal here? Because Dhiego, even though he's coming off the nice knockout in his last fight, his debut wasn't that great. I mean, there were a couple of fights where, you know, it looked like maybe we weren't seeing this, you know, this brilliance that people were sort of hyping him up to be. And I think for Drakkar, same thing. I think, you know, there's a lot more that he's capable of that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive stage for Mark, I feel, this weekend. It's Las Vegas. He's kind of, there's not so much else on the card, apart from maybe the main event, where I think someone's going to make themselves really stand out. I think it's a massive stage for Mark this weekend. You know, he's coming off, he's finishing fights left, right and centre. He didn't finish Frankie Perez in his second UFC fight, but he showed something different there. I thought he really showed his wrestling background. Because back in the UK, before he got signed, he came up with two incredible knockouts. A bit like his last one against Teemu Packalén. And everyone kind of knew him as this guy. He's a knockout artist. He's a deadly right hand. But I think everyone kind of overlooks that Frankie Perez fight, maybe because it was before a big UFC pay-per-view, where he kind of showed his wrestling. And that's kind of Mark Dhiego back in his early days, where he used to take guys down, dominate them. And then suddenly when he started getting these knockouts, so that's when he became this big knockout mode.
Fell in love with stand-up. And that's the interesting thing. I mentioned Drakkar's wrestling background. Can a guy like Dhiego out-wrestle Drakkar Klose? It's tough to say. And, you know, the other thing, Jim, is, you know, you talk about Dhiego's finishes. Drakkar's never lost. He's you know, he's undefeated. Man. So that's what's so intriguing to me about this fight. This could steal the weekend, guys, honestly. I think this is one of those fights that really could, you know, sort of steal the show. I think you have two guys who are obviously very high level, and it's just a matter of them showing in the cage.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? The co-main event is going to be something. I've just got a feeling that might be the fight of the night, but I won't put it out there just yet, because I mean, the main event is an absolute barn burner. Personally, I think this is the best fight of the weekend.
I agree.
This is the one I'm most looking forward to. So of course, Justin Gaethje taking on Michael Johnson. Justin Gaethje coming into the UFC off the back of, well, what can I say? A flawless run in his pro career. 17-0. The WSOF lightweight champion for as long as we can all remember, and a highlight reel that could go on for hours. Let's face it. He comes in with massive hype, and he's taking on Michael Johnson. This guy's a seasoned veteran. How do you think this one's going to play out? Well,
there's a bunch of interesting factors in this one. The first one is, you mentioned Justin Gaethje's 17-0 record. He's fought some really good guys, but the argument could be made that maybe he hasn't fought the top-level guys as far as competition goes. And Johnson has fought the who's who. You know, he's fought your Nate Diaz's and, you know, Beneil Dariush and guys like that, where, you know, he has been put to the test in those fights. It's an interesting fight, because a lot of people say, is Justin Gaethje that good, or is he just fighting guys that were not UFC caliber? And for Johnson, he's been very inconsistent. I mean, I just mentioned the Nate Diaz fight. That was a fight where he really had a blunder in that one.
He lost it mentally.
He did. And, you know, just when you look to count him out, he goes out and knocks out Dustin Poirier. So, I mean, this is a guy that has a lot to prove, and I think against a guy like Gaethje with the undefeated record, it's interesting, because the last time we had a guy from the World Series of Fighting come into the UFC, he lost what some say was a controversial decision or not, whatever, to you know, Rafael Sunsets, where Marlon Moraes came up short. So, can Gaethje break that curse of, you know, World Series of Fighting guys coming over and, you know, maybe not living up? Although David Branch did win, but still.
It wasn't exactly spectacular.
No.
But, you know, hats off to him. It's you know, it's a tough division with David. I mean, but I mean, tell me, how does this one play out?
It's tough to say. I think I give the slight edge to Michael Johnson, just with the experience factor and the fact that this seems like the type of fight where people are kind of overlooking Johnson, and I think he can surprise in this one. And Gaethje does get hit a lot.
He's got that chip on his shoulder. You know, I talked to him last week, and he just feels he feels that he's got in Justin's head already. I mean, he's telling me that he thinks that, you know, Justin Gaethje comes in with all this hype, highlight reel knockouts, and he's just going to say, I actually think he's going to try and wrestle me. So he's kind of got the mind games. He feels he's got the edge in, I guess, the mental aspect of the fight. But I think it's going to be an incredible main event. I personally can't wait for it. Is there anything else that stands out to you on this card?
One that I got to go with just a little bit of bias here, but the Elias Theodorou and Brad Tavares fight's interesting to me, just because of the fact that Elias, this is a fight that he could lose, I think. Tavares, I think, being overlooked in this fight. Theodorou obviously having, you know, the really good record, the 13-1 record. He had the one setback to Thiago Santos, but Brad Tavares is a guy who's known to surprise. He's a guy that went on a bit of a rough patch, and he's surprised here and there. So I'm excited for that one. It might not be the most exciting fight, but there's an intrigue factor there for me for sure.
Great stuff, James. I mean, you know, if I'm gonna put you on the spot here and tell you what's the fight of the night going to be at this card?
I think it's Drakkar Klose, and I think it's Mark Dhiego. There's bad blood there. 2 prospects, guys hungry to really prove themselves. I think that's the fight we got to keep an eye on.
Great stuff, James. No doubt we'll see you tomorrow. Preview show for UFC 213.
Damn right we will.
Great stuff. See you then.